everyone. This is Jackie Cooper, and I am with the Blockchain Legal Institute and also Crypto Mom 2. And today, this is a very special version of the Blockchain Legal Institute's Bermuda Career Day talk show. So I would like to welcome everyone who's listening to this talk show, whether you are a young adult in elementary, middle, or high school, or someone who's in community college, or even a career switcher, which is someone like myself. I've career switched many a time, and we'll talk about that. So the purpose of our Career Day talk shows is to bring to you a variety of individuals who have skill sets themselves that they've used and are using in their current position, but who also have navigated around the world in different businesses and positions. And I have a very special guest on today, Suzanne Morsfield, who is with Lukka, and we're going to be looking at their website shortly. But I met Suzanne through a variety of networking. And so that's the other thing I just want to share with you. As young adults, you're on social media all the time and you are networking all the time. Well, also keep in mind that what you put on social media will stay on social media. So you can use it for business, you can use it for personal, but there's a lot of individuals that as you are starting to network might end up helping you with job positions. So think of it as a tool because it is an incredible investment of your time, and there's a lot of resources out there. So Suzanne, welcome to the talk show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Jackie, and to talk with the young people that might be listening. I'm a former professor, so I love this part of what you do. I think it's really important. So
it is. I mean, when I was a little girl, I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing today. And that's part of the excitement of, the journey that we call life. So when you started out, when you were young, what did you want to be?
That's a great
did
question.
you ever think that you would be doing what you're doing now? Even though also for everyone who's listening, technology has emerged and is evolving. And so what we're doing now, blockchain, didn't exist when we first started. It's been around since 1991. I probably need to say that because I don't know how long our talk shows are going to be online.
It's great.
But what did you want to be when you were little?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. So that was the path I was going down in high school in the States, and then in my first few years at university. So, and there's a funny little story in there that leads to how I ended up in this career, but that I'm happy to share if
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
So I was doing what we call pre-med in the States. You can hear my blaring American accent. I live in London, by the way, which is part of the fun story and journey that Jackie alluded to, that, the world is really our oyster many times if we want it to be. And so it certainly has been for me. So I grew up in a small factory town in Michigan, and I was pre-med, and I hit around 2 years of that. I was just struggling. And so I talked to my dad about taking a year off to just work full time and just sort of think. And he was so discouraging about that. He said, absolutely, do not recommend it. You will never go back to university. And here's the funny part of that story. Not only did I go back after a year, I went back all the way to the point of finishing a doctorate degree. So I finished my undergraduate degree and worked a bit in life, but just kept going and going until there were no more university degrees left. And so Dad and I laugh about that now, because he was like, boy, was I wrong that when I said you'll never go back, because you went back and you just didn't stop. And so what was really good about that for me, and not everyone has to take a year off, to get that insight, but I completely changed course. And in the process of that, I ended up doing more maths and statistics and economics. And that was my undergraduate degree then. And then from there, I went on to do a master's in accountancy and tax. And from there, I did a PhD in accountancy and tax. And so I ended up really changing courses, and I've done career changing, so to speak, within all of that. But my initial thought about what I wanted to do was really different than what I ended up sort of really finding that I was drawn to, which is numbers, and thinking about numbers and thinking about what data and numerical information means in the story it tells us. And that is part of the wonderfulness, frankly, of my career, that I'm happy to talk about that as well.
Yeah, no, I want to mention the company. I want to mention Lukka. I want you to explain, how did you come to Lukka and what Lukka does?
So speaking of networking, so let's go back to that circle, because it's really important, as well as relationships that you have a chance to keep from jobs that you've held along your career. So one of the things I really recommend to people is, if they leave an organization, is to not burn any bridges, not leave in a way, if you don't have to, that burns bridges, that focuses on the negative, because there's usually always something positive to get out of one's career. And so what you'll find, what I have found, is I have friendships, relationships, collegial, professional relationships that I've kept from way back. So here's a great example. I worked for a company in 1990, so I'll date myself here, in the late 90s, and had a wonderful colleague who went on, who I stayed professionally in touch with over, frankly, it was decades. And out of the blue, she contacted me and said, "I'm starting at a company called Lukka, and I'm just interested to know if you know anyone who has this kind of skill set or interest." I said, "Well, listen, I've got a job right now, but I can help you if you need something in the meantime while you're looking." And then back came the text, "Are you looking? Are you interested?" And it's, the point is keeping your networks alive, keeping your collegial, professional relationships alive, and not leaving any company in a way that burns bridges would be my punchline, because that's how I ended up at Lukka, is through a long-standing, very, very good professional relationship and collegial relationship. And the other thing I would say is, at a point, speaking of career switching, it was at a point in my career where I was pretty settled and happy with what I was doing. I'm a corporate reporting subject matter expert. I understand corporate reporting kind of along all the dimensions, from ESG to accountancy and everything in between, globally. And I was comfortable. And the notion of crypto reporting and accountancy and tax related matters was completely not on my radar. And I had a chance to either go, "I'm comfortable and I'll just keep doing what's comfortable," or, "What about stretching myself again? What about learning something new, or taking what I've learned and applying it to a new area?" And I had that moment, and I chose for the new thing, for the thing that would develop me personally in the most important way that I could see on the horizon at that point. So that is, sort of a little bit of a long story for how I ended up at Lukka, but
No,
trying to tie together numerous pieces there.
yeah, no, it's really good. One of the takeaways that I took here is that it sounded like you didn't really fully know the content area when you stepped into this job,
Yes.
and that you had to learn on the job. And I think that
Yes.
that is something that's, really important, that one, that they gave you the opportunity to do that, but two, for those that are listening, you don't always have to be fully knowledgeable if you understand what it is that you need to be doing from the overview perspective, and where to research to get
Yeah.
that.
That's really good. That's really good insight, Jackie. Absolutely. And I think if we all only took new roles that we were 100% comfortable with, and felt like, "I know this, I know 100% of this, there's not one growth area in here for me, knowledge wise, professional wise," we would stagnate. And it is important that, as you said, that companies give people the opportunity to have a bit of a stretch themselves, and that we all, if we can, be open to taking that role that is a bit of a stretch. And I can't frankly recommend that highly enough. So
So I'm sure you've had mentors along the way.
mhm.
Um, and so for those, you know, youth or young adults that are listening, finding the mentors or asking for help
Mhm.
is also important because when we start in an area, we don't always have that background. How did you find your mentors, or how have mentors helped you, you know, in
Yes,
your career
great,
development?
great, great question. Um, they are so important, and some, as you've said, sometimes you have to seek them out, and sometimes they come to you, they're offered to you. Some companies have a formal mentorship program that either they assign you to or you volunteer to be a part of, either to serve as a mentor or to be mentored. If that opportunity is formally available to you, I highly recommend that you take it up and that you think about serving as a mentor. And I say the word serving on purpose because it is a kind of a way to give back, and to always be looking for an opportunity to reach your hand out to someone else who's coming up career wise. And so take advantage of the formal ones. But I go to a lot of networking events and always have.
Exactly.
And I look for folks there who have an area that I'm interested in, or an area where I want to learn more about. And I go into those opportunities on purpose, looking to network and develop those professional relationships. And and also I'm careful about not asking for too much or too much too soon. I look for ways I can offer something as well, and I also look for ways to make it so that I'm not just sort of showing up on someone's doorstep and saying, "Can I have this? Can I have that from you? Can I have whatever?" Like that. These things are relationships that take time, and it's important that you give yourself time to develop relationship. But network, events. Is really something I can't stress strongly enough. If you need to look for your own mentor.
Then, and the other takeaway that a thread that I keep hearing you say is also, you know, keep in contact, because some of those individuals
Yes.
who are in contact with might end up being the touch points for the mentorships.
Yes.
What now? I know for me, throughout my life, I've had different internships, and in fact, in college, I each summer I interned, and that since I thought I was going to go down the law path, which I, end up doing, but it also kind of helped me understand what part of law I wanted or didn't want. I mean, like
Mm,
I interned on the Hill for those that are in the states, in the Congress, and then I also interned at the Supreme Court as a page, which was a lot of fun. And then I also
wow.
interned at a major law firm. Uh, and I realized, I'm not going to say their law firm name, only because I realized that that wasn't for me. And
Yes.
and so, the interns can actually help you in many ways. Did you intern, and does Luca have internships if someone has
That's
interest
great.
in internships?
Yeah. So I did not have an internship at the point as I was coming up. I did have a lot of informal ways to learn more about different kinds of roles, and especially in accounting and reporting. There are so many different things you can do with it, and I know we as professors talk about it as the language of business, and I think that is a super helpful way to think about it, because then once you can speak it, you can do so many other things with it. And as for Luca is looking at, restarting its internship program. We slowed it down a bit due to COVID, and so we're looking at restarting it. And so it's something that likely will be available, in the next summer or two. So people should feel free to get in touch with me if there's something on our website that strikes you of interest. And I'll always be honest, we don't have it up and running yet, but check back with me in a few months. I'll always be super honest with everyone.
Exactly.
So.
And the other thing is, again, for whenever you're listening to this talk show, definitely all the information to contact will be embedded below. There's always changes that happen. And so, there might be job positions, there might be internships, there's a lot of different things that are going on. We have the Lukka site up, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because when someone who's young, who's looking at a website, they might get overwhelmed with all the various tabs and buttons, and they might not know where to look. What I see here is, and again, from an education perspective, if you're, in high school, you're always going to see the brand of the company. So we see Lukka's name up there. And at the top, we see, what their mission is, who they serve, their solutions, the partners, insights, and trust center. So when you're looking at a website, definitely click through all the buttons, figure out what the company does. Now, Lukka's is scrolling various topics on their front of their, and there's a lot of vocabulary there. So even if you are looking at the vocabulary like forensic accounting, you might not know what that is. That gives you a great opportunity to do a little research to find out, because it might be something that you're going to be interested in, even if you don't know what the initial word is. And then take a look, and I'm looking at all the clients that, Lukka has served. This also shows you the credibility of the company, because now, not every company will have scrolling clients below. Sometimes they're clients they want to keep private, but it will just show you other companies too that might be job opportunities for you.
Yeah.
So, again, each website can be a wealth of information for you as a person looking for career development. So tell us more about what, I know you sat on one of our panels, the Blockchain Legal Institute's global summits, and you were instrumental in giving insight on different things that were happening around the world. But tell us, what do you do at Lukka, and what does Lukka do? And I know your role probably has evolved and changed. So that is also, very interesting too.
Yeah, that's great. It's a really great point. So I'll start with what Lukka does, and then I'll drill down a little bit on my role and even how it's changed, because I do think as a young person looking at careers and at professionals, how our careers change, our roles change is really interesting. And I think it should be, it's always useful to talk about. So Lukka is a data and software company, and we are devoted to companies that are engaged with digital assets, crypto assets, whatever term you'd like to use. And we are, primarily business to business. So it's a very mature kind of company that you'll see us engaged with. The list at the bottom, thank you for pointing that out, Jackie, of our customers is partial, because as you pointed out, not every customer wants to be, necessarily wants to be publicly on the website. But we have great relationships with some of the largest exchanges and financial institutions, and who we serve. You'll see the list is miners and financial services companies, exchanges, all manner of companies that are engaged with crypto. And a really important thing about how we have done this from the beginning is in our Trust Center tab. For anyone who wants to look at that later, our Trust Center tab is a key part of Lukka. We really, from the beginning, have looked for voluntarily certifications and audits and rigor to apply to all of our products, our software, our data, and we take the most rigorous approach possible, and we voluntarily go after that. So in the US, there's an organization called the AICPA that has what's called SOC reports that really speak to a very high standard of software and data and information provision. And those reports, we have to be audited by we're audited, I think, by one of the Big 10 every year in an audit that takes up to 6 months. And they're looking very, very carefully. So trust in our data, trust in how our software works, trust in all of our products is really, really important to us. And we seek out, like I said, those voluntary certifications and attestations and it's really important. So then going from there to the fact that we really work on this very trustworthy, very rigorous approach is we have different solutions. And our solutions are, as I said, data, software, in particular. We also are recently, we acquired a blockchain analytics and asset tracing company. So one of the unique things about Lukka that I think you would be very hard pressed to find anyone who is competitive with us on this is that we have crypto data, highly rigorous approach to standardized, well developed, mature. We have a software that can do really a whole variety of compliance reporting, whether it's US GAAP, IFRS, various tax sort of approaches. The software sits on this rigorous approach to data, and then the blockchain analytics and asset tracing, and finding that all in one roof, under one roof, is really impossible. You usually have to go over here to do crypto asset evaluations, over there to do blockchain analytics and asset tracing, and third place for data. And Lukka really is a one-stop place with, again, that trust center sort of tab being really, really crucial to the quality of what we deliver.
So what skill sets do you find that you've had to develop over time that maybe you didn't have when you were younger? And did you have to go back and get any additional degrees, or were you able to learn them on the job?
So once I had my accountancy degrees, I did not have to go back, but it doesn't mean I don't take online courses, CPE type courses, which you need in for accountants, which is similar. There's a corollary to what lawyers have to do to keep your continuing education going. I really actually value those very, very highly. One of the things I would say that was really important in my development in what I'm doing now is a willingness to constantly be learning and growing, and B, a willingness to admit if I don't know something rather than pretend that I do. To say, I'll go look that up for you. I'll go ask, a really respected advisor. One of Lukka's advisors is the former chair of the FASB in the United States, Bob Hertz. So I have access to good, strong guidance and leadership, and he's, a wonderful mentor. And you go ask, and you don't pretend you know if you don't. So that's a key sort of principle that I like to pass along. But in my case, having a very strong understanding of corporate reporting, and there's a course that often you can take as an accounting student. It's called accounting theory. And a lot of people don't understand how important that is, because accounting rules weren't handed down from anywhere on high or any other place. They actually are developed according to finance theory and theory of measurement and theory of what is an asset, what is a liability, and understanding and having a really strong foundation in that was so helpful in crypto reporting, because there until very recently have been not crypto specific accountancy rules and regulations. It has been take what we have already and apply it to this new type of technology, that's driving financial services or driving asset delivery. And so making sure you keep a really strong foundation in your whatever area of expertise you're in is super, super crucial, because then you can build on that as there's new innovations. And Jackie, you mentioned too, like this technology, blockchain technology is so new. It's an example of where I needed to go do some CPE, to do some external learning, to understand blockchain and how and why the accountancy related to things happening on the blockchain is different than if I was just looking at the accountancy for a traditional financial transaction, for example. So constant learning, constant growth, and willing to admit you don't know something and go find it out. A comfort with uncertainty, which accountants are not famous for. we have to be better at the uncertainty, new developments, thinking outside the traditional way. So have a good foundation allows you to think more creatively isn't really the right term, but more flexibly, and to manage sort of uncertainty and rules and the development of rules, and developing that personal character trait of being okay if things aren't completely black or white. And like I said, accountants, possibly lawyers, are, are not, that's not always our strong suit, but in this particular area, if you're going into, the crypto world, you have to be flexible and innovative and being willing to just constantly learn and grow.
Yeah, and just you have to know how to use your libraries for your resources, which is, there's, as for you, the young adults who are listening, there's a variety of libraries, there's a variety of places you can get information. Blockchain Legal Institute is one of those libraries, but there's other libraries out there. And so when you're looking at information, you also, that's a whole nother conversation, which we can have. You also have to decide, okay, is this a primary source? Is it a secondary source?
Yeah.
Is it opinion? Is it factual? What motivates someone to publish something? Just because it's online doesn't mean necessarily it's true.
Yes.
And also especially in our community of blockchain and decentralized space and AI and everything else like that,
Mhm.
our space is evolving so fast. So there might be new accounting rules or laws or
Mhm.
things like that. And so it's just important for you as a young adult who's looking at how do I stay current. You have to have resources, and
Yeah.
you have to know how to, like you said, ask the questions, and then talk to people, and then take the steps that you need to make decisions. um I know we're going to be running out of time shortly, so any last minute thoughts about for individuals who might not be aware of the type of company that Lukka is, or the type of practice that you're doing, any lessons that you've learned that you think would help guide them as to the
Mhm.
new roles that might be developing,
Yeah.
or how do they even approach a company like Lukka for a job? Again, what insights would you give to someone?
It's a great question. And one of the things I would highly recommend is to follow us on social media, follow us on LinkedIn. To your point about libraries, on Lukka's website, we have an insights tab that I encourage everyone to look at. We're careful about what we post there. We're thoughtful about what we post there, what is posted there. Also, we would have sent out, via LinkedIn and other social media. So just consider following us if you would like to. We're very, very, I think, very thoughtful about what we present, and we look to we have a lot of respect for the work that regulators do, and that's one of maybe my takeaways I would encourage everyone to think about is wherever you are, your regulators actually and your policymakers are working very hard in this area and are really trying to do the right thing for retail customers as well as business customers. And so a sense of appreciation for the work that they're doing, and looking for ways, even as young people, I think you can look for ways to engage with them. They often ask for requests for comment. It could be a university project, to think about actually replying to one of these requests for comment. In the context of that, you learn so much because they present to you a question, as they present it out to society actually, or to their local economy, and say, here's a question we're looking for input on. And I just encourage, even if you don't reply, to look at those, and you can see what your local regulators are really thinking about. Having a good foundation, frankly highly recommend accountancy as a degree. And my dad also is my role model in this. He was an electrical engineer his entire career, but he was this role model where he had, talk about career switching. He worked at Ford Motor Company on cars. He worked at doing nuclear power plants. he's his great claim to fame, and I'm so proud of him, is he worked for a company that put a device on the moon in the last manned Apollo mission, Apollo 17. My dad and his team have a device up there. It quit working a little while ago, but it's up there forever. And it's the example of, and I find it with accountancy, and I know some of you might be looking at me in disbelief, but I've been able to do so many different things because of this foundation in the language of business, and not just thinking about where did the beans go, because people talk about accountants as bean counters. We count them, and where do they go? Are they on the left for debits, on the right for credits? But one of the most important skills you can develop and will serve you so well is, what do the beans mean? What is the story they're telling us? And what are the insights we can gather? And this is where in crypto reporting, it's so important, because it's a new area. And so helping people understand what those crypto accounting beans mean, and what is the story that they're telling about a company's engagement with crypto assets. Are they holding it like MicroStrategy? It's a main business purpose. Are they holding it in a smaller way but significant way, like Tesla? Tesla is really about making cars, but also has in Bitcoin investments. MicroStrategy makes software, but also says our second business purpose is investing in Bitcoin. So they have two business purposes that they treat as sort of equal weight. And so what does that mean? As someone trained in financial reporting, you will be able to understand that and think about that, and offer sort of insights to other of customers and clients as well. There's also one last thing I'll say, is I'll do a little pitch for ESG reporting, because I consider it very much part of corporate reporting. And there's so much that can be done there and learned there. They're now bringing sustainability metrics into annual reports and financial reports, and it's becoming a requirement. And that major area all of us could contribute as you learn more about blockchain and the technology is, are the metrics that are being required out there actually fit for purpose for our industry? And as you look at them, you can see not quite yet. And so it's an opportunity again for us to give feedback and to help this new area that's so important sort of grow in its relevance, grow in its accuracy and usefulness to readers of financials and readers of corporate reports. For anyone engaged in crypto. So, and Lukka has, if you go actually to our tab, I'll back to one of our tabs in the solutions section, Lukka has developed an ESG score very carefully I'm not sure how many crypto assets we're up to the latest count, because we're always working on it. It's very labor intensive, and you need an expertise in crypto to do it, but it is something we're very committed to and very interested in as well. So.
Yeah, and for those that are, exploring the Blockchain Legal Institute's library, there's also a climate plan, and that whole area is going to be talking about different climate jobs and things like that as well. Because again, we're, as I say at the end of all of my talk shows, we're very interconnected, and our world is something that we need to be thinking about preserving. And businesses are composed of people, and what we do impacts different parts of the world and the lives around the world. So we all have to be very much aware of the products that we buy, what we do with them after, the whole cycle of from start to finish. So that's a whole nother conversation you and I will have. But I want to thank you for coming on. And also, if anyone who's listening has a question for Suzanne, her LinkedIn will be online. That way you can reach out to her. And also, if you have an interest in learning more about what Lukka does, professionally, that will be there, whether it's as a client or as someone who wants to work with them. Again, that's the purpose of what these shows are, is to show you the diversity of the world that we live in, and then to help you as young adults who are looking at career paths know that there are many out there, more than you might have originally thought about, because sometimes we as teachers, because I'm also in the teaching space, don't always give you the variety that you need. And so that's the purpose of these talk shows, is to show you the um, just how broad everything is, and that you can be as creative as you want in the job search that you're going to be taking, and have fun with it. That's the main thing. So,
Great,
Suzanne, thank you
great.
so much for being on. I
It's a
look forward
pleasure.
to our future conversations. Everyone, as I always say at the end, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're very interconnected. We're all part of one world, and now more than ever. So everyone, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.